Sheikh Ammar, we start.
I'm ready. I'm ready, Amin.
I'm not sure if the sisters know about. We're gonna try it here. If it doesn't work, we go back to the masjid, John. Musalla. Bismillah. Are we ready online? Yalla, Bismillah. وعن ابن عمر وعائشة رضي الله عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم 151.
Okay. You say قال المؤلف also or no?
Yeah.
قال المؤلف رحمه الله عن ابن عمر وعائشة رضي الله عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن بلالا يؤذن بليل وكلوا واشربوا حتى ينادي ابن مكتوم وكان رجلا أعمى لا ينادي حتى يقال له أصبحت متفق عليه وفي آخره إدراج.
Somebody came, one of the sister looked and she went back. So I don't know why, but just make sure that the brothers on this side, let's explain.
Ibn Umar and Aisha narrated that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Bilal calls for prayer when it is still night, so eat and drink till Ibn Maktoum calls for prayer. And he, Ibn Maktoum, was a blind man who did not call for prayer until he was told, it is morning time, agreed upon. And there is an idraj in its last part.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walahu ba'd. This here, he said, وعن ابن عمر وعائشة رضي الله عنهما. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu's narration, it's in Sahih al-Bukhari. And al-Bukhari rahimahullah mentioned it in several places in his Sahih. In the beginning of Kitab al-Adhan and the Adhan of the blind person, because Ibn Maktoum was blind. And Hadith Aisha radiallahu anha, he said, he mentioned also in the book or the chapter of al-Adhan, and reported by Muslim as well. But I want you to pay attention that the way Ibn Hajar put the hadith, he said Ibn Umar and Aisha reported, as if they have the same chain of narrator, and just Ibn Umar, but that's not the case. They are completely two different narrations. They are completely two different hadith. So if you really want properly to count, that should be one hadith and the other one hadith. So let's say if he had 20 hadith in this chapter of Adhan, it should be 21. You can't count them as one because they have two different isnad. And these two hadith, there is another hadith goes on the same, carry the same meaning alongside the same two hadith. Hadith Anas, Hadith Unaysa radiallahu anha, Hadith Sahl ibn Sa'd al-Sa'idi, Salman al-Farisi, all of them said that Bilal radiallahu anh used to call Adhan in the night. Then the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, so eat and drink, don't stop eating and drinking if you hear Adhan of Bilal. Only you stop when you hear Ibn Maktoum calling for Adhan al-Fajr. Because he was a blind person. And he will not call Adhan until he will be told Asbahta, Fajr times, Asbahta any morning, which it means your Fajr. And he was a blind person. He will not call Adhan until he will be told Asbahta, morning. This statement, وَكَانَ رَجُلًا أَعْمَى, he was a blind person, and he did not call Adhan until he will be told Asbahta, until he will be told it's a morning time. This sentence, it's not from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no doubt. He was a blind person and he will not call Adhan until he will be told. That's not from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So who said it? Is it Ibn Umar radiallahu anh? That's what Ibn Qudamah rahimahullah said. That's something from Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu arda. And supporting that, Al-Bukhari himself, in the book of Siyam, when he talked about Siyam and fasting and when you stop and when you start, he mentioned this narrations, and he mentioned it that he basically as if it's a statement from Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu wa ardah. And it looks like Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu said that. But in Sunan al-Bayhaqi, this is an addition from Salim, the son of Abdullah ibn Umar. Okay? That's in Sunan al-Bayhaqi. And Abu Nu'aym, al-Bayhaqi, ad-Daraqutni, number of scholars in hadith, they said it is an addition made by az-Zuhri, a successor, a late successor. So Ibn Umar, Salim, az-Zuhri. Which one of them you think? And why? Ibn Umar. But what about Salim and az-Zuhri?
Because it's talking about the hal of Ibn Maktoum and the conversation that people have. I would assume
Zuhri knows about it, so he said, and Salim. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah said, it doesn't matter. He said what it could be, Ibn Umar said it, and Salim said it, and az-Zuhri said it, they heard it from each other, and each one of them, when he reported the hadith, he said it as his statement as well. So it could be from different narrations, different people, men heard more from Salim and az-Zuhri and Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu arda. And I agree with that. There is no contradiction. It could be three of them actually. طيب. إن بلالا يؤذن بليل. Bilal call adhan in the night. What do you mean by night? Like 12 o'clock? Midnight? When they said Bilal call adhan in the night. Bilayl, okay. بليل الباء هذه يسمونها الظرفية يعني during the night time, but he will do it at the end of the night, so it's still inside the night, like part of the night, not Fajr yet, but at exactly the end of the night. Why? Because for Sahih al-Bukhari, what is when Bilal finish and he comes down, they will say to Ibn Maktoum, it's Fajr time, so he will go up and will call the adhan. So that means that the time difference between the first adhan and the second adhan for Fajr was what?
very short.
Very short. He comes down and the other one climb up. So it's very short, like few minutes. Some said 15 minutes, and I think that's a lot. But that's the maximum I heard, like around 15 minutes. Okay? So here, it does not mean that he make adhan like in the middle of the night or something like that, or 2 hours before Fajr or something like that. No, it's very, very close to the Fajr time. He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا, eat and drink. Is that an order?
No.
Yeah, it's an order, it's a command. Eat and drink until you hear the adhan of Ibn Maktoum. That's order. What's the ruling in eating and drinking before Fajr? It will be what? The order here. It means wajib, recommended, permissible. But what about if it's Ramadan, it's recommended to eat suhoor before Fajr. Other than Ramadan, it is permissible. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, many times for kulu washrabu, eat and drinks. Well, eating and drinks is not wajib. Okay? Many times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us to do things, hina al-amr lil-ibaha. He is ordering us, but it's understood it's just a permissible, okay, thing to do. So, sihu fil ard, go travel around the world. That's not wajib. It's permissible for you to travel and to discover the world. طيب. Here, it's interesting because there is a mas'ala in ilm usul al-fiqh, it's called al-amr ba'd al-hadr. When the Prophet ﷺ said, or Shara' say, don't do this, then tell you do it. Yani he forbade you, then ordered you to do it. Okay, he stopped you from doing it, then give you the permission to do it. When you give you the permission, that means it's only permissible or it's recommended or it's wajib. There is an interesting this is an issue, we're not going to cover it now, but this is an issue in usul fiqh, we teach it. But here it's the opposite. It's al-amr qabla al-hadr, mu ba'd al-hadr. He ordering you to eat and drink before he forbade you from eating and drinking, if you are fasting. Anyway, yunadi, calling, it means here adhan. And it came clearly in another narration, yu'adhin. Instead of the word yunadi, which it means calling, the word yu'adhin, yani calling adhan. And the word nida, which it means calling, refer to adhan. فَإِذَا نُودِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ مِنْ يَوْمِ الْجُمُعَةِ. When Jumu'ah call made, which it means the adhan for Jumu'ah is made. Ibn Ummi Maktoum. Ibn Ummi Maktoum. Abdullah is the famous opinion about his name among the people of scholar of Medina and the Sahaba and the Tabi'in in Medina. In Iraq, he was known as Amr. So two names. Again, why there is difference of opinion about his name? Because he's known by his kunya, his nickname, Ibn Ummi Maktoum, Abu Huraira. Nobody heard his name. It just basically, everybody call him with that kunya. You know, Abu Mustafa, Abu Ahmed. So nobody knows what is his really name, you know. So Ibn Abdul Barr rahimahullah, the majority of Ahl al-Hadith, later of scholar of Hadith, call him Amr. But wallah alam, it is more likely to be Abdullah. And his father, Qais, okay, he's Qurashi. And Ibn Maktoum among the early scholars who accepted Islam. أحد يعني من كبار الصحابة. He one of the early people from al-Muhajirin accepted Islam. And he's the one who Allah revealed in relation to him Surah Abasa wa Tawalla and Ja'ahu al-A'ma, when the blind man came to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ was distracted by someone else from him. And the Nabi ﷺ was giving da'wah to people and said, who will accept my call, who want to listen to Islam? So a man said, me. So Nabi ﷺ got excited. When he looked, he found it Ibn Maktoum. So his face changed, kind of disappointed. Why the Prophet ﷺ face disappointed when he saw Ibn Maktoum?
He was looking for the elite society who had more influence and more money.
He was looking for the elite of society. What else?
He was already Muslim.
He was already Muslim. He just have a question. Number one. Number two, he is related to Khadija. So yani he's in the family. I can reach out to him anytime. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was waiting for someone else. So he was not kind of disappointed. Question. Did Ibn Maktoum noticed what happened, what the Prophet ﷺ did? Because he didn't say anything. He just, with his face, frowned or changed. But Ibn Maktoum didn't see it, but Allah saw it. And Allah did not let it go unchecked. To make a point that this religion will protect the right of the weak. Even if they can't see you, Allah sees it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that point very clear and this is, by the way, among the first 10 surah in the Quran. So it's a very early time in Islam. So that shows you also that Ibn Maktoum is what? Is a very old Muslim. He became Muslim in a very early time. Ibn Maktoum, the son of Maktoum, that's his mother. She is the mother of Maktoum. What's Maktoum means?
Silent.
Maktoum, sharab, or closed. Huh? The last? No. Maktoum, it means basically sharab. Maktoum because nadaruhu maktoum. He can't see. His eyes closed. Okay? So she is the mother of the blind. Which shows you that he was blind in the early time of his life. And that reject the idea of some of the scholar of hadith said that Ibn Maktoum became blind after Badr. Because his mother is the mother of a blind, that means blind in his childhood. Number two, Abasa wa Tawalla came early in Islam. So how can you say that he became blind after Badr? That's why Shaykh Baz rahimahullah, he comment. And by the way, ulama kibar, they mentioned that, like Ibn Hajar and others. And Ibn Baz rahimahullah said, hadi ghafla. I remember in the class, Shaykh Baz said, that's just not being aware of what you're saying. Because anyone will obviously know that it's not right that he became blind after Badr, because Abasa wa Tawalla came early in Islam, and the Quran refer him as the blind person. Okay? Anyway.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Maybe Maktoum, she took the name from another child of her, maybe an older person, maybe not from him.
No, not known to have any brother or sister or brothers that he was blind or anything like that. Not even known to his brothers. Yeah. Also, Al-Quran referring to him as blind. And the surah came early in the Islam, way before Badr. Anyway, Ibn Maktoum rahimahullah wa radiyallahu anh, from the great companions, he lived until Umar time. After Umar, we never heard anything about him. So it looks like he died recently. Either there is debate, he died after the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah or during the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah. Because in the Battle of Qadisiyah 14 Hijri, he was telling people, let me carry the banner of the army. He said, I'm blind, I don't know what's going on in the battlefield, so I would never turn my back to the enemy. I'm just gonna keep going. It doesn't matter how many, you will see me always standing up in my place and keep going forward. So, and he was holding the banner of the Muslims in the Battle of Qadisiyah. Some said that he died in Qadisiyah, some said he died after Al-Qadisiyah. Anyway, وكان رجلا أعمى لا ينادي حتى يقال له أصبحت. He will be calling adhan when he is told that it is a morning time. When he is told it's a morning time, is it means that the morning time entered or about to enter? يقال أصبحت يعني دخل الصبح أو قاربت على الصبح. أصبحت, it's a morning time. Is it means, because linguistically it could both. It means already it's morning time. So you stand up and he goes, he climbs, you can imagine. He needs someone to help him to go up into the roof of the house next to the masjid, calling the adhan. So that means that's دخل الوقت. So it's morning, so he goes. Or it is morning, يعني it is the time for Fajr. So by the time he goes all the way there, the Fajr will start. Linguistically, لغة العرب, both correct. It's Maghrib time, even if it is 5 minutes before Maghrib. I can say it's Maghrib time. It's up perfectly correct. Here, al-ulama rahimahumullah debate over this because this hadith is a problematic. If we say asbahta asbaht, it means the time started it. طيب, this 5 minutes or 10 minutes between him leaving his place or between him going up to call the adhan, whatever amount of minutes is this, people are eating and drinking because the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam do not stop until you hear the adhan of Ibn Maktoum. If the time already entered, how we are allowed to eat and to drink in Ramadan until we hear the adhan? You see where the problem comes? If we say that asbahta, it means already the time is in. These few minutes, what will be the ruling in regard to it? Because the Sahaba used to eat until they hear his adhan. Here al-ulama rahimahumullah said, that's why many scholars said asbahta, yani the time is about time. And by the way, there is no proof that Ibn Maktoum was, for example, in his house or in the masjid then he will walk out to that place where the adhan. He might be actually right there waiting for Bilal to finish, and it's just a few minutes after Bilal finish, he will be told, then he will climb up to call the adhan. Because we heard the narration, this one will come down, then the other one will start climbing up. Or maybe he'll climb up early and he will wait in the place of the adhan until he will be told, asbahta asbaht. Let's say he's on the top of the roof of the building, and that house, which is one of the women of the Ansar, she used to allow them to, they used to use her house to call adhan from the top of her roof because she has highest building in the Medina. So maybe he is in that roof waiting, and when the adhan is time, they said asbahta asbahta. So he will stand up and we said Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Something like that. It could be like several scenarios where it doesn't mean to be 10 minutes or 5 minutes, if it's a minute or two maximum. And as you know, in Sharia, things are not like based on nanotechnology. It's not like by the second type of, because nowadays there is no calendar accurate 100%, and we studied that before. I mean, there is a difference between here East Side and Clear Lake and Galveston, Texas City, here in downtown, because the sun moved. That's right. It's not like we're not in the same place, but still you have Houston time, Webster time, Katy time, and always in this calendar there is basically 5 minutes a merge of. Alhamdulillah, our deen is an ease, so there's no need for somebody to be so strict and so picked up. Oh my God, I made takbir 20 seconds before the adhan. I mean, there is no to watch 100% exactly the same, unless you're gonna follow what you call that sa'a dharriya, that atomic like clock, and 100% like. Our deen is much easier than that. That's why also the ulama rahimahullah said, when the adhan is called, if somebody, Nabi said, if you have something in your hand and the adhan is called, finish it, and not a whole entire buffet, you finish it. Let's say a bottle of water or a bite in your mouth, you don't spit it out, you just eat it and you continue your fasting. And that's what the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. So here we say that alhamdulillah, these things, it doesn't need to be too strict about it. And that's, you see from the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ardahum, that he will call asbahta asbah, then he will go up and call the adhan. Even if there is a few seconds, it's not something will make the siyam invalid. Ibn Hajar said, and in the end of this hadith there is idraj, there is additions, and we talked about that, which is, and he was a blind person and he used to call adhan when he is told asbahta asbah. We said that's the idraj. And idraj means the narrator add a statement to explain something in the hadith. What do we learn from this hadith? I think the first issue we should address here, what's the ruling of calling two adhan for Fajr? Any Fajr prayer, what's the ruling in giving adhan, first adhan, second adhan? Do you guys do two adhans here? Anyone here has in their masjid two adhan? Okay. What about in India, Pakistan? Do you do two adhans for Fajr? Okay, so you guys are not familiar with that. But in other countries, in Arab country they do, Mecca they do. Okay, so, okay. We'll get to know why. Al-ulama rahimahullah debated over this, and you see the result of the difference of opinions in the different regions in the world. Al-Imam Ahmad, Malik, Shafi'i, Al-Awza'i, Ishaq, and Ibn Hajar rahimahullah said that's the majority of the scholars. They said only Salat al-Fajr can have two adhans. One before the Fajr, the real time of Fajr start, and the other one with the Fajr, with the actual timing. And their evidence is clear. Hadith Ibn Umar, Hadith Aisha, you just heard, the one we have here. And they said, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam explained why. He said, لِيُنَبِّهَ نَائِمَكُمْ وَيُرْجِعْ قَائِمَكُمْ. Why we call the first adhan? So ينبه نائمكم, the one who's sleeping, to wake up and to get ready. If you want to take suhoor for siyam, if you want to take a shower, make wudu, get ready for Salat al-Fajr, so they can pray Sunnat al-Fajr, then they pray Fajr after that. وَيَرْجِعْ قَائِمُكُم, if somebody praying his night prayer, he understands that Fajr is so near, so finish your Salah quickly, make your witr before the Fajr time enter. The other opinion, which is Abu Hanifa rahimahullah's position, and Sufyan Thawri, they said, no, there is no two adhan for Fajr. Should be only one adhan for Fajr, like Asr and Maghrib and Isha, like the rest of the Salah. Why would we change Fajr? And they said, we make the qiyas of Fajr like Dhuhr and Asr and Maghrib and Isha. This qiyas, according to the Usuliyin, qiyas fasid, a corrupt qiyas, a corrupt analogy. Why we say corrupt analogy? Why the ulama use this term? It's a very strong term. قياس فاسد. القياس الفاسد هو ما كان في مقابل النص. Any analogy that contradict a clear text is a corrupt analogy. It's a rejected analogy. It's a false analogy. It's a false logic. So there is a clear text that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam from his sunnah to have two adhan, as you heard in the hadith of Bukhari Muslim earlier. There is third opinion, which has been attributed to some scholars of Ahlul Hadith, scholars of Hadith. They said, if there is two mu'adhin in the masjid, they should have two adhan. If there is a sign, two mu'adhin, you have two adhan. But if there is only one mu'adhin, they should only have one adhan. So they took it literally as the Prophet ﷺ case. He had two different mu'adhins, that's why he have two different adhans. But if you don't have two different mu'adhins, you only have one adhan. Why? They said because if you have one mu'adhin and he called the first adhan, people might recognize his voice and think this is the real Fajr. Then they pray Fajr and their salah is not valid because before time. You see how their logic is? But if you have two distinguished mu'adhins, people khalas recognize Bilal is not for Fajr. Ibn Maktoum is the one for Fajr. But to be honest with you, that's not very good argument. Because you can easily distinguish between which adhan is the Fajr adhan. How? As-salatu khayrun min al-nawm. Even much better than the time. In modern days, time. Okay, but even before, it's as-salatu khayrun min al-nawm. Okay? So, what if somebody said to you, yeah, but I follow the opinion that salatu khayrun min al-nawm go in the first adhan, not the second adhan. Usually it doesn't matter, first or second, there is one of them has salat khayrun min al-nawm, the other one has no salat khayrun min al-nawm. So you will be easy to distinguish between the two. There is really, it's not a very good logic. And Allah A'lam, the first opinion, the majority's opinion, is the correct, that you can have the two adhan. What's the wisdom? Yes?
So what's the ruling then? Is it mustahab or
Sunnah. Yeah, it's sunnah. Yeah, recommended. What's the wisdom? The wisdom, I just told you what the Prophet said in Sahih Bukhari. He said, لِيَرْجِعَ قَائِمَكُمْ وَيُنَبِّهَ نَائِمَكُمْ. So the one who praying witr, quickly finish your witr, and or do your witr so you can finish your salat al-qiyam, and to get ready for suhoor. If you sleep, you wake up, so you can take shower, make wudu, you get ready for the salah. Also, if you've been praying for the night, it is sunnah to take a nap before Fajr comes. Short nap. So if you've been praying, for example, for 1 hour or 30 minutes before Fajr, short time before Fajr, you stop, you take a little bit of nap, then you wake up for Fajr with the Adhan al-Fajr. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to do that.
Can I ask a question? So if the Prophet ﷺ said that, هذا يعني إنه هو يعني يؤيد إنه two adhan.
Yeah, sunnah.
Meaning the people who are saying no, only one adhan, they're going against the Prophet Khalil?
Yeah, basically because why would they go against it? Because they don't know. Either they don't know about the narrations, they did never come across this narration, or they don't believe in its authenticity, or they believe that there is other evidence more stronger than others. But it doesn't matter what they do as long as we have the evidence clear. That's why the vast majority of the fuqaha said it's two adhan for Fajr. It's sunnah. Also, another point is the period between the two adhan. It should be short. And I'm saying this because in Mecca, it's very long actually. In Mecca, it's about 45 minutes between the two adhans. In many countries, they make it too long. And that's not how in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. It should be short time, maximum can be between the two adhan, I would say 15 minutes or so. طيب.
If it's too long, the one who's sleeping won't wake up.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I could
طيب.
argue.
I'm saying this because Al-Hanabila said the first adhan should be after midnight.
But
So قالوا بعد منتصف الليل in the Hanbali madhab. They said it can be after midnight. But that's not correct. Because what's the point? The point is to get ready for suhoor. And suhoor is before Fajr. Right before Fajr. In the end of the night. And also for you to get ready for the salah. To make wudu and so forth. Yes, brother?
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, what you just said. I mean, it's just to allow enough time for you to maybe to eat your
Suhoor and get ready for.
and get ready.
Yeah.
So that's about 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Al-Bukhari rahimahullah said about this hadith, باب أذان الأعمى إذا كان له من يخبره. This is a chapter of the permissibility of the blind person to give adhan if he has someone to tell him about the time. Because in the old days, how you decide what time is the adhan? By looking at the sun and the shade. So here, basically, the Bukhari rahimahullah said that. Why he making this point? Because believe it or not, there is some of the early scholars among the Salaf, كانوا يكرهون أذان الأعمى. They said, we don't like to hire or to have a blind mu'adhin. Like Ibn Mas'ud said that. Ibn Zubair said that. Said we should not have a blind mu'adhin. And that's not correct. As long as there is someone will tell him what the time, it is acceptable. But Ibn Mas'ud and Zubair were worried that maybe he will not be the person, he doesn't have someone who rely on him 100% or somebody tell him by mistake, so he makes a mistake and that will affect the community at large. That's why they kind of want the safe side. I would say in modern days, that's not even an issue because we have watch. You know, that's not even an issue. One of the benefit from this hadith, جواز العمل بكلام المؤذن إذا كان ثقة أو بالأذان إذا كان ثقة. It's allowed for you to follow the adhan if you know that adhan is called on time, or you follow the app if you know this app is accurate. Same concept. Yani الصحابة رضي الله عنهم, the Prophet told them, you eat and drink until you hear what? Ibn Umar, he didn't say until you go check the Fajr yourself. It was not obligated on them to go make sure by themselves that the Fajr time came or not. You see what I'm saying? So that means it's allowed for me to follow someone else as long as you know that he's trustworthy. So as long as, like you ask me, Sheikh, in the masjid, when the Adhan al-Maghrib call, I see somebody once, he going outside, looking, and will not follow the Adhan of the Mu'adhin. Why? If he's thiqah and he's trustworthy, yes. But some mu'adhineen don't care, and that's dangerous. If you've been giving adhan, you have to make sure that you do it on time. Also, same thing with the app. If it's trusted and you know it's right and it's accurate and has a good company that is not just a app that you follow. You should look for good, something that you can trust. Also, this hadith has a fa'idah, which is استحباب الأذان من مكان مرتفع كان ما بين ينزل ويصعد. So it's recommended for the adhan to be called from a higher place. Why higher place in the old days? So it will the sound travel, heard. And in modern days you don't need to go up. In modern days you have the minarets, we have the microphones, so it will go far. And that goes against what some people, and especially it's sad in some Muslim country, you have people want adhan not to be called out loud. They said, oh, the masjid's microphone is bothering us. The speakers is bothering us. I support the idea that should not, the salah, not necessarily to be in the speakers out loud outside the masjid, especially if there is neighborhood, because some of these masajid, literally, the speaker will be next to somebody's apartment. So if this imam, mashallah, giving a class, wala khatira, wala reading Quran, maybe there is kids, maybe there's sick people, women, and not praying, so there is no need for that. But the adhan, no, it's sha'iratul Islam, and it's the point for the adhan to be delivered. Far. Anyway, today, in modern days in America, I said this before, I'll repeat it. That means we should call adhan where people can hear us. I always say that it's sad when people call adhan, they go the farther from the people. And sometimes we are gathering, so the brother will go outside and call the adhan, and we're all sitting here. Why the adhan for us? Why would you go outside? You should call adhan where, like there is a class, for example. He goes make adhan in the musalla. Type everybody in the class. Maybe you can just inside it so people can hear the adhan, repeat after the adhan. Adhan is not meant for walls, and only for jinn to witness for you, and the walls and the trees. Also us first priority. Yes? The hadith also shows the permissibility of having more than one mu'adhin in the masjid.
The question is, it appears ordinary or an understanding that those for whom it is incumbent to pray salah in the masjid are those who are within earshot of the adhan. Is that an accurate depiction?
Yes, because that will come in the Salat al-Jama'ah, because the Nabi said, do you hear the adhan? He said, yes. He said, you have to respond. So, as long as the sound travels, so let's say, if you want to apply it today, if somebody called the adhan without microphone, how far the voice will go? In a quiet time, no, it can travel. It can travel quite distance. Okay, that's why the mu'adhin is Allah.
One block.
So that will be basically wajib on the person to come and to respond. Some said no. In modern days, as long as the point is not to hear it, the point is to know about it, and you are capable of going there. We'll talk about this. There's a debate over this when it comes to Salat al-Jama'ah. طيب. You are allowed to eat and drink until you are sure that Fajr came. That's why Nabi Sallam can eat and drink until you hear the adhan of Ibn Maktoum. So when you know that Ibn Maktoum, that when you stop. So that means before that they're allowed to eat and drink. I'm saying this because some Muslims, they came up with this bid'ah, it's called imsakiyya. It's to hold from eating and drinking 10-15 minutes before Adhan al-Fajr. And Ibn Hajar rahimahullah is a great Shafi'i scholar, said that's bid'ah, innovation religion, has no base in religion. You should eat and drink until Fajr, not to before Fajr you stop. Question. Can you testify in court based on somebody's voice? We have a lawyer.
Only if you were blind.
No, not blind. Can I go and said, let's see, me and Sister Hana, we are debating, is this my phone? I said, this is my phone. She said, no, this is my phone. Then we go to her son, who's a lawyer. Her son will be proud because he's like biased. We go to a lawyer. Okay. So the lawyer or the judge, we go to the judge. So the judge said, you have a witness that this is your phone. I said, yeah, Az-Zubair is my witness. Zubair, did you see me purchasing this? No. But I was in the phone when he was purchasing it and I heard him buying it. He heard me saying that while I'm like making the deal. Is the voice enough for him to be a valid witness? Yes, if he recognizes, that's why the brother said blind. He meant, He knows and recognizes the voice. If I recognize Walid's voice 100%, but if he starts saying, I'm not sure if because hearing is like what? Seeing, no difference. Both are senses. But if I say, Wallah, he looked like Walid, I'm not going to take your testimonial. Even if you claim that you saw. He sounds like him. No. But no, that's his voice. I recognize it. That him, I recognize. That's why the ulama, rahimahullah, use this hadith as a proof in a completely different, unrelated topic. This is when you study the chapter of court and judging and ruling in court. باب القضاء والجنايات والشهود والدعاوى. They said that this hadith is proving that voice is sound reference to, or this hadith is a reference to the permissibility of giving testimony based on sound. Why? Because he said, if you hear the adhan of Maktoum, if you hear the adhan, that means they will act upon them recognizing the voice of Ibn Maktoum. They didn't see Ibn Maktoum, they just heard him. And that's why they will basically practice one of the important pillars of Islam, which is fasting Ramadan. Also, this hadith shows you that you don't need multiple narrations to establish ruling in Islam. So if you have one narration from one companion is enough to establish the rules. He didn't say to Bilal, you need another one to make adhan with you, or Ibn Maktoum was enough himself to prove that. Also, Ibn Maktoum will call adhan based on what? One person telling him morning time. He didn't say, Ibn Maktoum didn't say, I need 3 people or 2 people to tell me that it's morning time. One Sahabi told him it's morning time, Ibn Maktoum called the adhan. So that means khabar al-wahid yu'mal bih. One person you trust, relay the information to you is enough. You don't need a second. You don't need a third person. Yes?
It doesn't matter who the person is.
Trust. Yeah, you trust. Yeah, you trust the person as knowledge. It's not allowed to call adhan before time at all. Also, this hadith shows you the permissibility of calling someone with a clear description on him or her, even if this description is a disability. The blind man. Okay? The a'ma. Okay? Dhul Yadain, the man with the big hands. The short man, Al-Qasir, the tall guy, the big woman, the petite, the small hand one, the big hand one. The A'mash, the one who blurry-eyed, the A'war, the one-eyed man. As long as it is not said in a form of what? Disrespect or putting person down. I don't know how does that sound in English, but it sounds mean, but I don't know, people can use it in the cripple. I don't mean to basically being mean to the person, it's just describing so you can immediately recognize the person. As long as you don't make it in a mean way or insulting. Why? And that's a very common. Also, this hadith shows you can be known by your mother name, not your father name. So he is Ibn Ummi Maktoum, and that's a lot on the Arabs, by the way. Like Ibn Abi Salul. Salul is his grandmother or his mother. I don't know about that, but there's several examples like this. So you will be known by referring to your mother name, not necessarily your father. Haritha is female? No. Yeah. I don't know about Haritha. Yeah.
Just made around being able to refer to someone by the description.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get that from the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam in this hadith, because that part is actually from Umar or Aisha.
Yeah, but that's known. الصحابة رضي الله عنهم did it, and also the Quran did it, الأعمى. Yeah. طيب. Next hadith. You guys have somebody timing 45 minutes to stop.
وعن ابن عمر رضي الله عنه أن بلالا أذن قبل الفجر فأمره النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يرجع فينادي ألا إن العبد نام. رواه أبو داود وضعفه. That Ibn Umar narrated that Bilal called the adhan before Fajr, and so the Prophet ﷺ commanded him to return and announce, lo, the slave of Allah had slept, hence this mistake. Reported by Abu Dawud and graded as da'if, weak.
The translation, they're trying to make it sound nice.
Slave of Allah.
Yeah, which is not, that's not how the narration is. Anyway, this hadith ibn Umar radiallahu anh, came in Sunan Abi Dawood from Hammad ibn Salama عن أيوب السختياني عن نافع عن Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu وأرضاه. That Bilal called the adhan before Fajr, before time, and the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, go back and say that the slave have made a mistake, and he was asleep. Basically, he was asleep, he was not focused, that's why he called the adhan in the wrong time. Okay, he was not aware. And this narration also in Daraqutni, and Bilal was so upset that he did this mistakes, and he said, ليت بلال لم تلده أمه. I wish that I was never born. وابتل من نضح دم جبينه. Yani I was killed or dead before this happened. Ibn Hajar here said, Abu Dawood said it's weak. To be honest with you, Abu Dawood never said that clearly in his Sunan. If you look at Sunan Abu Dawood, he didn't say it's weak. Okay? He mentioned the narration, Hammad ibn Salama, عن أيوب, عن نافع, عن Ibn Umar. And he said, ولم يروه عن أيوب إلا حماد بن سلمة. The only one narrated this hadith from Ayyub, Hammad ibn Salama. وانفرد برفعه. And he's the only one said that this is something the Prophet ﷺ said. Yani everybody narrated this hadith from Ayyub did not say that this incident took place between Bilal and the Prophet ﷺ. Except Hammad ibn Salama said that. Then Abu Dawood come after that and said, it was reported from Nafi' that a mu'adhin for Umar, radiallahu anh, his name is Masruh or Mas'ud, called adhan before Fajr. Then Umar called him and he said, you made a mistake, go correct it and say in front of everybody, the slave has slept and made a mistake. So that man went and he corrected himself. Abu Dawood said, وَهَذَا أَصَحْ. That's more authentic. Yani, it could be understood that Abu Dawood saying the first narration is weak, but it's not explicit. Him saying it's more authentic, it doesn't mean that the other one, it actually give an indication that this one is authentic, but this one more authentic. قال وهذا أصح. Okay? So I don't know if Abu Dawood saying that or not. But look at the narrators, guys. I don't know if you noticed that. Hammad, one of the greatest scholars of hadith. Ayyub, another giant in hadith. Nafi', another giant in hadith. An Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu. Yani hasbuk. There is no better isnad than this. That's why there is a famous scholar in Morocco, his name is Al-Ghumari, very famous, even though he's not, some of them from Ahl al-Sunnah Al-Ghumariyin, and some of them actually kind of very anti-Athari Aqidah. But Abu al-Fadl Al-Ghumari, rahimahullah, Ahmed, he said this hadith is authentic and blah blah blah, and he really, put all his power behind it and strong word to make it authentic. But hadith is not sahih عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أبدا. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the hadith as a Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم statement is not correct. That's why Ibn Hajar rahimahullah said even though the narrator, all trustworthy narrator. But al-a'imma, the great scholar of hadith, all of them agree that this is not from the Prophet. This story has to do with the Umar radiallahu anh and his mu'adhin. It's not the Prophet and Bilal.
Why not? Why not?
Okay, that's where we call it illatul hadith. That's why ilm al-hadith is not only by looking at names, the trustworthy. Scholar of hadith, they have so familiar with every narrator, and they can tell you that this goes along line with what they narrate before or not. So if we look at Ayyub and all who narrated from him, none of them made it as a statement of the Prophet ﷺ or attributed to the Prophet ﷺ. All the narration that comes to us about this, it has to do with the story of Umar, not the story of the Prophet ﷺ. So that must be a mistake from Hammad, even he's a scholar. But scholar and trustworthy scholar doesn't mean he doesn't make a mistake. It means his mistakes are very few and easy to be recognized. That's why Imam al-Bukhari, Imam Ahmad, Ibn Ma'in, At-Tirmidhi, Ad-Daraqutni, Al-Athram, I can list long list of scholars, they said Dirhis is not a statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ibn Hibban. And one of the things that the ulama, that's why in hadith, we don't just look at the chain of narrators. We have to look at the text. When you look at the story doesn't add up. Number one, Bilal is not the one who called for Fajr. It's Ibn Maktoum, the one who called for Fajr. So for Bilal to make a mistake, Aslan Bilal don't call Fajr. Bilal called the first adhan, which is in the night before Fajr already. Okay? So that's basically, it make it very strange. Also, saying that Nabi told him that you were sleeping, he didn't overslept. He didn't call the adhan outside the time. You know, the story doesn't add up. The language of al-abd, he's a slave. Bilal was not slave at that time. Bilal was free man.
Yeah,
So to refer him to the slave, you know, that's not also add up. That shows you that there is something, a mushkil in the isnad, in the riwayah. That's not how the Prophet ﷺ speaks. Okay. So that's why ulama rahimahullah said that this will be something, raise question mark on this hadith. So when we compare the other narrations and the story of Umar, which is authentic narration, we know that that's a mistake from Hammad, that he claimed that this is something from the Prophet ﷺ, and it's indeed Ibn Umar was referring actually to his father, and it took place in his father, and Hammad thought that this took place in the Prophet ﷺ time. Yes.
Al-abd in Arabic doesn't mean the slave, right? Sometimes it means like al-abd, you know, we all abid Allah.
No, but this the way it is, it means the slave. It could, and it's not an insult. That's a culture differences. Al-abd is not an insult. Today is insult. But in that time is not an insult. Just that he is a free man, he's a slave. That's it. Okay? The best we can twist it to say, he is the slave because he used to be a slave. But even this is a little bit of twisting, like from linguistic point of view. Anyway, the hadith is not from the Prophet ﷺ. It's weak as a Prophet ﷺ statement, but it's authentic as a story took place during Umar radiallahu anh, and the whole story just make one point, that you cannot call adhan before time. You cannot call adhan. And if a mistake was made, it should be corrected. So that's why he went and he corrected to people, said, I made a mistake in the adhan, so to correct that. That's it. Yeah, we'll stop here, inshallah. Next week we have. Next week I might not be able to be here. So it depends. I'll let you guys know by a message. I have like a small procedure next week and this time. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to be here or doctor allowed me to be here in the night or not. I don't know yet. So I will let you guys know, inshallah ta'ala. But most 90%, I'm not going to be able to do it next week. We'll do the week after. And we'll talk about the repeating after the mu'adhin and what came in relation to it. That's a very beautiful also fiqh in it. إذا سمعتم النداء فقولوا مثل ما يقول المؤذن. Yes.
The question is, we talk about stopping eating when the adhan is called. If you have begun eating but haven't completed it, are you permitted to?
There is a hadith in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if the adhan is called, وفي يد أحدكم, and in your hand something, finish it. And Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu had something in his hand and the adhan was called and he finished it. Anas radiallahu anhu did the same thing. Several companion reported that they did the same. As long as something quickly, like let's say the bottle of water, I'm gonna finish it. Yeah. But no refill, no like buffet, you know. Take a full sandwich like.
If the cup of coffee is almost full, can I finish it?
No, so coffee, the problem is take a long time. It's kind of cold. If it's cold, yes, but it's hot, it takes time. But I say I want to take just a sip or two and.
You ate like three, you're halfway through the banana, you finished the banana. Is that a good one?
Yeah. See, I will tell you something. The beautiful thing about Sharia, purposely Sharia did not put that like by the millimeters, if it's 2-inch the versus like 1 ounce. You know what? It's your discretion. The point is when the adhan is called, stop. If you have something, it's finished quickly. Then you judge yourself. Between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And alhamdulillah, the person with this taqwa, we're not gonna, there is nobody is judge over you in those. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He knows that you're doing your best, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from you, inshallah ta'ala. The point is just don't drag.
So Shaykh, with regards to trusting the mu'adhin, what happens if the mu'adhin calls the adhan mistakenly before iftar at the end of the day?
If the person by mistake eat and you realize, you stop eating. So this is exactly like إِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ وَسَقَاهُ. Allah fed you and give you drink. It's like you eating without realizing. It's a mistake. I thought it is the time, and it's not. And I thought based on correct information, I look at the watch, it looks dark, and I break my fast. And I realize, my watch is like a New York time.
One time I was at one of those like community iftars, and they had a gap in the program. So one brother just got up and they called the adhan.
So the whole.
Yeah, they started breaking their fast. But it was really because they had a gap in the program. So there was a lot of
And what happened when they realized it's a mistake? Yeah, then they eat again when the real time comes. So Jazakallah khair, He fed them.
Similarly to how if you made the mistake in the adhan for Fajr, you go out there and say,
No.
you do the same with the...
No, because here you stop, then you eat later. But if you mistakenly prayed before time, you have to repeat it. Once in fasting, I fasted a volunteer, which actually was making up a day. I realized I'm fasting maybe, like 40 minutes, 30 minutes before Adhan al-Maghrib. I had breakfast, lunch, I had like my coffee and everything. It's like this person, it's a joke, but it's a point, I guess. He said, yeah, Sheikh, I forgot. I had my breakfast, and I had my coffee, and I had my lunch, and I had, my dessert. Then I remember I'm fasting. What should I do? So the Sheikh said, drink your tea. Drink your afternoon tea. Yeah, assalamu alaikum.